back to it here. Okay, now we're watching the Ichimoku Cloud, guys, on all time frames. Honestly, it's how we're gonna be in tune with how the coin or the price is moving towards support. If it's under support, if we're trading below the cloud, we start to get bearish. If we're trading above the cloud, we're bullish, and that's really relative in any time frame. Okay, so like breaking down Bitcoin again here, it's on a nice run up, and now it's gotten pretty far away from the 1 hour cloud and the support, but now we're riding on this 15-minute cloud. Okay, so as this moves closer to our target, we want to watch how it could fall apart, basically. If this starts to trade into the cloud here and go into the 15-minute cloud and head towards the support line, that's kind of our first indication that, hey, we're losing our strength. Okay, so we want to watch it. I mainly watch it on smaller time frames if I'm in a margin trade mostly. Okay, because that's kind of where you want to squeeze every last penny that you can out of the trade. Okay, so if this thing starts to get up here and then gets tired and falls down into here, I'll probably close my long temporarily. If we get a bounce off of the support line, I may go back in, and that kind of a thing. But we want to really watch how the price relates and reacts to the cloud in the different time frames. All right, and we can use that for basically for anything. I mean, once these things, like for instance, let's look at Nautilus coin. Nautilus coin is a good example how on the daily, okay, let me remove these drawing tools here. Okay, now look at Nautilus coin, how after this last move, I mean, on the daily level, it was just, under this resistive area for a while, just down, 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 down. And then this little impulsive move that it had here, where all this volume went in, almost like a test pump. It went in, but it obviously couldn't break the daily cloud, and it almost, retraced about 78.6 or 88% or so here, I think. Probably looks more like the 88% retracement here. Yep, about the 88 right there. But once it came around the corner here, and it came around the cloud and stuck its head out right here around the clouds, what's it doing? Well, it's gaining support now. Okay, this thing's growing again. Okay, this thing now, it's pretty clear. Okay, now this was, it had resistance here, so it couldn't work itself through. But now that it came down and consolidated here, and it ran up right here, as soon as I got out of the clouds right here, boom, it ran up to almost 20,000. And now that it came down and held a consolidation of that move on another daily crossover here, this thing looks like it's gearing up to do another move, another run up. Okay, and we had talked about this in some previous videos, that this thing, it's working its way out of its resistive area and into a place where it can be free. Okay, it can be free to have that overhead resistance. Let's check our other time frames. Okay, 12 hour now. Okay, now we're looking at the 12 hour. Now, okay, mind you, on the 12 hour, this previous move that we just talked about, it was free from resistance on the 12 hour, but it was in a daily cloud, which is why it really didn't go anywhere. Okay, but this time, this move over here is not in a daily cloud. It's not in a daily cloud. It's not in a 3-day cloud. It's not in any clouds. So this move here, this is really interesting to take note of, because just understanding where the price is in relationship to its daily or 3-day resistance can tell you a lot. I mean, it really can. Like this move right here, this entire thing was free from 3-day resistance, obviously. Okay, but this move right in here, it was really trying to happen in a daily cloud. Okay, so it didn't go anywhere. It really didn't go anywhere. But this move has escaped the clouds now. Okay, we're on the other side of the cloud of that entire downtrend that this thing has been on. Okay, so now we're on the other side of that. And it looks like we haven't even come down here to test these clouds. That's something I would look for. Like if this didn't have a candle looking like it's getting ready to reverse in a daily crossing here of the stochastic, I would look to be buying back down here at the cloud again to see if we can't get a cloud bounce, like 10.5, 11,000, something like that in this area. But it doesn't look like it, so far it doesn't look like it wants to come down that far. But it's free on a daily level from all this resistance that this entire thing was trading under the cloud. This was trading in the cloud, but now this is free. This is free on a daily level to really expand in price now, okay? And we see that on a lot of these coins. We see the same thing on LBC, okay? Same thing. Almost, those two charts almost look the same, honestly. Let's remove our drawing tools. And that's how, as you guys go through this and trade cryptocurrency, it's going to get easier. Every single day you look at the chart, it gets easier and easier and easier, guys, because we're looking for the same thing. And then we're going to start to notice a lot of these charts look the same. A lot of these coins are doing the same moves. A lot of these coins are painting the same patterns. So because it's all the same emotional cycle. I mean, look at LBC and Nautilus coin look very similar. I mean, really just falling down, long daily downtrend. A nice impulsive move that really doesn't go anywhere while it's in the cloud. But then we sneak ourselves around the cloud here, okay? We sneak ourselves around the cloud and do a nice little impulse, and then we retrace and we consolidate from that impulse until we get another daily crossing, just like we're getting now. So this week, now that we see these are the kind of indications that we use to say, hey, well, okay, this looks like this might be a really interesting week coming forward here for Nautilus coin and library credits. Okay, off of those factors, meaning that on the daily level, we came through the clouds. I guess it was like maybe 2 weeks ago on both of these. I remember playing both of these. It was almost 2 weeks ago now. They came through the clouds, did a nice boom up. Actually, they both fell just a little bit short of our targets. I remember that. Well, actually, no, this one did hit 7,000. This one did hit my target of 7. But Nautilus, my target was 20, and it went to like 19,450. So I mean, that's the kind of thing. If you guys are taking the signals, and if I say the target's 20 and it goes to 19,450, I mean, and then it falls back to 12. There's, you guys have to play that in your own window of time. We can't get exact price points exact every single time, but what that does tell us, okay, for instance, going back to Nautilus coin, that the first target was 20 on this. Okay, so let's say the first target right about here, 20 or so. That's a little bit higher, but it's hard to get the exact movement, I'm sure you guys know. So this was our first target on this, and we missed it. Okay, it did not reach our first target. So what does that tell us, though? Well, that tells me that on this next wave up, that I'm not even looking for 20. I'm looking for something more, higher in price. Sorry, that wasn't perfect English, not more higher, but I'm looking for something higher in price. Okay, something relative to this. Okay, I want to get maybe at least 25, 26 out of this thing now. And then see how does that relate to price points. Okay, well then this. We might even get that much out of it right there. Boom, with these wicks. I would not be surprised if this next wave that comes out of here hits this price point right here, about 28.7. Okay, 28, no, I guess it's about 28.4. Just around 28,000. Okay, meaning that our first target here of 20 didn't get hit. So if I'm still holding this thing, I'm not looking for 20 anymore. I'm looking for more. I'm looking for more because our first wave that came up didn't tag it. So I'm expecting that second wave, that second impulsive leg, which would here would be like, this literally looks like this right here is questionable if I want to consider it in my Elliott count, and I don't really, because this looks like, just a move that was kind of like getting a market share here, okay, and then this looks like it's starting very impulsively here to work its way up out of these clouds. So this is, we'll have to change our Elliott along the way to see how it's really, playing out. But I would be looking at this now from this point of like new impulse to break through these clouds and give us something like this, okay, and get up and to some higher levels. If this thing expires in this area and wants to like fall down more, then maybe we'll have to look back and say, okay, was this our first wave, our one and our two? But for right now, I'm not really considering this our one and our two, because this was like this was kind of like a move that just got us prepared for this impulsive action, if that makes sense. And then when I look at like our monthly level on a coin like this, it just has a huge amount of potential to grow in strength. Okay, with a monthly that's starting like this here, with the oscillating indicator that could get all the way back up into this purple band at least into normal trading conditions, and then maybe even all the way up here to where it's overbought again. I mean, we can see Nautilus coin has had some very large moves that it's made in the past. So I'm looking for a pretty large move out of something like this, but I want to see how it respects its daily cloud as it goes. Okay, now we broke our daily cloud here, so that gives me an indication, hey, this thing's free. It wants to make another impulsive move. Okay, it wants to make another impulsive move. So from here, now that we've stabilized above this little shelf of this cloud, and we're getting a daily crossover here, this is a pretty good indication that this thing's going to move on. Okay, move on. And if we move on here, as we start to climb and make another leg up, then our support's going to start to move up too. Our clouds will start to shift. Okay, and we'll start to paint a whole new picture on this side of the clouds. Okay, whole new picture. And same thing for same thing for library. Okay, same thing, guys. I mean, this thing is really looks a lot like Nautilus coin, actually. A lot like Nautilus coin. So same thing here. And then, now that we see it broke its daily cloud, now let's flip through our other levels. Let's look at like our 6 hour. How's it on the clouds? Okay. Okay, look. This thing fell down below the cloud here when it had its little retracement. But look what it's trying to do on the 6 hour crossover here. This thing's trying to work its way back up above support. Back up above support. So now here's an indication. I bet you if I look at Nautilus coin, it's doing the same thing. Yep, same thing. Okay? These are moving very, very similar to each other, to the point where we just clarified on the daily level that they've broken past their cloud resistance. So now the only thing that's really stopping both of these coins from launching into another wave is getting through this cloud. Once these coins get on top of this cloud, we might even see like a little push through like this, and then like a little retracement back down, and a little consolidation in this area, and then a push off the cloud. Okay, when things push up, they push off the cloud. Okay, even right here. Once this thing came through the cloud here, it came back down, and then right here, poof, pushed off the cloud. Okay, this thing's trying to get its way back up here with the 6 hour cross to get above the cloud and do a push off the cloud. Same thing. What are we looking at here? Nautilus, same thing with library. Same thing. Okay, same thing. I mean, these two charts look pretty much the same. And then as you learn this, there's going to be coins that you can play this. I mean, I would play the same strategy on library credits and Nautilus coin, for instance. Their charts are playing out exactly the same. They seem like they're getting ready to do the same sort of move, meaning that if they get above this 6 hour cloud, they're probably going to try to find some sort of a moment in time to push off of that cloud. Okay? And that's how we would use the cloud here to identify that. Like right now might even be worth taking the trade based on the retracement that was held from the last impulsive move. Okay, meaning that this little move here, this is how we want to spot these things and break them down. Okay, when I gave you guys library credits in a video about 2 weeks ago, it was because it held this 50% retracement right here. Right in this area. I remember it was like 2,500 or so, was about the price point. And then with Nautilus coin, it was this one right here. Okay? It was this one. When I saw it make this move right here, and held that 50% retracement. You know, that's why I was saying, you know, anything in the 8,000 range at this point for you guys that have been on my list for a while. That's why, because we saw this first impulsive move come, okay? This first impulsive move come to start to push into these clouds here, poked its head out of the 6-hour cloud, but then consolidated in there and held a 50% retracement. Well, that was a pretty good indication that we were going to try to get an impulsive move out of this thing to get us up to 20. Now, like I said, it only made it to like 19,450. So, you know, that's where you have to take your, you know, your trading to your own hands and say, okay, you know, Picasso said 20, it's at 19,450, it's looking weak. Should I take profit? Should I hold it? You know, but what you can see is going on here is just this. A new impulsive session. Like this. This fifth wave looks like it even did like a double. You know, like we came down like real quick here, but it did double. Okay, and then out of that, what did we get? An ABC retracement as well. Okay, basically where price came down here, thought it was going to rally back up, didn't, and then came all the way down to here. Okay, so we basically got a pretty well-established Elliott out of this move, okay, which could very well just be, like I was saying, R1 and R2 of a larger move that's coming out of this, okay, meaning that, you know, I wasn't really counting this move as anything except maybe like just market placement, but this seems to be the impulse. Okay, this seems to be the impulse. So we very well may be getting something like this from Nautilus. And I bet you if I pull the chart up on, you know, we'll pull the chart up on library credits in a second, but same thing. Also, same thing here. This move here, what did it do? Well, looks to me like it held a pretty good retracement. Am I in the right spot here? Right about there. Well, seems like it tried to hold a 50% retracement and just fell a little bit lower out of the cloud there. But you can see, like, you know, this is the thing. We have to understand what's going on here while this thing is doing this. Okay? Right here. As this thing's coming down, trying to come to this 50% retracement mark here, Bitcoin is pumping. So this is like dumping out, dumping out, dumping out. So it's, you know, getting a little bit lower than the 50% mark and coming out of that 6-hour cloud a little bit until it doesn't, you know, until the sellers kind of go away and more people start, you know, the buyers start stepping in. And then our support starts to come in a little bit more. And then we start to see more buys and we try to work our way back on top of this cloud again to where we can launch and continue on with another move. Okay? Same thing here. Library. This one, our Elliotts aren't as pretty, but they're in here. I can almost see them here. Okay, we got our first little, you know, this first little move that we saw, do an impulse and then hold a retracement. That would be like our little subminute 1, 2, and then maybe from here 3, 4, boom, 5, and then A, B, C to this point. Okay, yes, we got another little pop off here, but you know, this was our next low. Same thing, trying to work our way through these clouds to, boom, get another move to manifest out of this. And so how the price relates to these clouds is very important because it shows us, you know, on our bigger picture, we know that we're free of our clouds, you know, our daily cloud and our 3-day cloud. So as it falls below like a 6-hour cloud here, let's see how this thing looks on the 12. I think it actually, both of these respected their 12-hour cloud. Come on. Why is it not loading? There we go. 12-hour. Okay, yeah, we didn't even fall down to our 12-hour cloud here. So, and now look at this little shelf over here on the 12-hour. Okay, this is almost saying like, now we know what this is doing on the 6-hour. It's trying to work its way back above the 6-hour cloud, right? So let's say this thing gets up here and then starts getting up in this area and then falls like this. Boom. What's it going to hit? The 12-hour cloud. Okay, so this thing's almost working its way up to where it's getting above its 6-hour cloud to where it would rest on the 12-hour and actually have support, and then boom, continue on. Let's see if Nautilus is doing the same. Yes. Okay, very much the same. So I can see both of these, you know, working their way through their 6-hour clouds to where they're on top of their 6-hour clouds and then getting like a little breather or a little sell down that will actually tag the 12-hour cloud, or maybe the 6-hour cloud as well, and then boom, get support off of that and continue on. All right. Now, how the price reacts when it's in the clouds on a higher time frame is what we're going to talk about here next. On things like, there's 3 examples right now: Factum, Scicoin, and Gigabyte. Okay, they're all in 3-day clouds. Okay, meaning that they want to move on. Like they've broken their market cycle. They're trying so hard to get up to higher levels, but they're in 3-day clouds. So when something is in a 3-day cloud, like on a higher time frame like that, and you can even see, look, our 3-day strength is so strong here. The market is at its maximum strength it could be at, probably for the last over a week here on Factum, but it still can't get past, like 400 and some thousand, what is it, like 410, 420. I mean, every time this thing goes up, it comes back down. Okay, and now, so if you're watching this thing on like an hourly level, this thing's faking people out left and right. Like it wants to break out, and everybody thinks, oh, this thing's breaking out, and then it doesn't break out. And then, oh, it's breaking out, and then it doesn't break out. And I remember when it broke right here on, where is it? Oh, I must have been looking at our 6-hour. Let's see. I remember when it broke the a certain level of 400, it brought in a bunch of retail traders because, I saw everybody talking about it on Twitter about trading Factum because it had broken out of its, it made a higher high here in this line. Sorry guys, I don't know why my charts are taking so long to load here. There we go. Okay. So, Factum made a higher high in here. And I remember a lot of people, chasing this and buying this because it made a new high in here, and they just got destroyed on that. Because I guess maybe, you have to really take all the time frames into consideration, okay? And when you see something really ranging out like this, where it's, doing moves, like Factum has been doing like literally like 30% up, 15% down, like 39% up, and then it's been like what, like 18% down, and then again doing like about 30% up, and then like what, like 15% down. So this thing has been ranging out like this, doing like 30% up, 15% down for what, like a month now. And it's, it doesn't seem like it's real. After it broke its market cycle here, this thing has broken its market cycle, broke the downtrend here, had a nice little accumulation here, and then a throwback spring, boom, to push us out. But we haven't gone anywhere yet. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, why has Factum not gone anywhere yet? Okay, well, Factum hasn't gone anywhere yet because Factum is smack in the middle of a 3-day cloud. Okay, right in the middle of a 3-day cloud. So this thing's trying so hard to break this 3-day resistance that, it's broken its market cycle. It has all the elements of trying to make a new high on its side, except for this 3-day cloud. It has to, it goes and then it just keeps meeting this resistance and getting sold back down. But eventually, this is going to push through this 3-day cloud and smash right through 500 here. Okay, probably even, it's probably going to get enough of a spring behind it on like maybe a 6-hour or something time frame. Okay, where we get like, it might be this 6-hour crossing here where we get enough of a strength on our 6-hour level and we get above this cloud and we maybe push off of this cloud. But on a lower time frame now, we're going to have to get some sort of an oscillation of strength at the right conditions at the right moment to break this pattern, to break this resistance and break this green line, which is 500. And we'll probably get such a push out of it that it breaks and then really runs and tags all the way up to here and then falls back down to the green line, which would be the 3-day cloud, because it has to break this 3-day cloud with force. And, I'm thinking that we're going to break the 3-day cloud and probably try to take out, maybe not that one, but maybe like this price point, right? Come on. Sorry, guys. Come on. Don't want alerts. This one right here. Maybe take out that price point right here. So I can see us, breaking through this 12-hour cloud and getting everybody, the masses of the FOMO and the greed to push us through here and tag all the way up to here, like, oh, Factum's running, Factum's making a whole new all-time high, but people not understanding the process that it's actually going through, and it breaking right through here, breaking this green line, coming all the way up here and just leaving a wick at this line, and then falling back down to the cloud, and then consolidating, and then trying to gain its strength and hold above this 500 level before it can move on. But that's the way it needs to happen, okay? It needs to work its way through this 3-day cloud until it's finally above it, and then consolidate above it and move on. Now, until that 3-day cloud is broken, we're going to see a lot of lower time frame attempts to get up in price and then rejections, okay? And that's exactly what's going on with Siacoin as well. Let's see, where's our Siacoin? Let's see, same thing, guys. Right in a 3-day cloud, okay? Where this thing wants to come up, just keeps getting smacked down. So what's going on with this is the same thing. It has to get enough oscillations. Okay, first, let's just mark out the top of our 3-day cloud. Top of our 3-day cloud, basically 97. Let's just call it 100. Nice round psychological 100 right there. Okay. So this thing has to get above 100 and stabilize to really continue on. And this jump between 50 and 100 is going to be hard. It was a lot easier for it to go from like 25 to 55 here to 60, or it actually went to 75. It was a lot easier for it to make that 50 Satoshi jump, from 25 to 75, than it is here for it to go from 50 to 100 or 125. Because here it's running into this, okay? It's running into this cloud. And we're seeing a reflection of that on these lower time frames, okay? Like, we'll have to get some sort of a oscillation of strength here. Come on like a 6-hour time frame. Okay, to where we get out above this cloud again, and then we start to work our way on. It's the same story. It's the same story that a lot of these coins are making, but now even, like Factum is in the 3-day cloud, Siacoin's in the 3-day cloud. It has to first get above the 6-hour cloud now again on both of them to get enough of a spring action behind it to push through that 3-day cloud. Until that happens, it's just getting chopped down. Okay, and same thing with Gigabyte here. Okay, Gigabyte wants to make a breakout, wants to make a new impulse, wants to go to higher. Okay, and if you guys remember from my video just from like 2 days ago I made on Saturday, I was saying that yeah, it broke out, but I don't really want this thing in this area. I want to get it back here, and this is where I bought. I bought when it sold back down here at 46. It actually went to like 45. Yeah, it went to 45 in that candle, so I bought at 46. And then I missed this one. I didn't get back in again. But that's the way we want to play these things, guys. We want to we don't want to chase anything. We don't want to buy things when the price is going up. When we realize the price is going up, we want to buy it when the price is coming back down. Okay, so, but even holding this thing here from 46 is a little bit of a gamble because, same thing, we're in a massive 3-day cloud, I believe, with this thing. Yeah, pretty massive 3-day cloud. So, again, same thing with this thing. It needs to really oscillate its strength on like some lower time frames and get enough of a push to push through this cloud and stabilize, up here, up around like 105 or so. At least get over 100 and stabilize over 100. It's almost the same story as Siacoin, okay? Where these things are like, went from like 20 to like, what did this thing go to, like 20 to 65? Okay, so the other one went from 25 to 75. This one went from like 25 to 65, and now both lingering around like, just above 50. But it's not really going to get on a run until it gets above 100. Same thing with Siacoin. Really not going to get on a run until it stabilizes above 100. But we can take our positioning for that now but we have to understand where we're getting in and what our expectations should be. Like we obviously have an accumulative zone here where we had a high, and then we broke out of this box. Okay, that's why I always make a box. Whenever it's like an accumulation zone, guys, it's really easy to just put a box on there like I did with radium, and to just kind of know, like, all right, when we leave this box, we're going to get some action. So here, I don't think we're going to get another tag of our 6-hour cloud here. I think we well pushed off of our 6-hour cloud right here, and I don't think we're going to visit it again, because to visit our 6-hour cloud again means we have to come back down into the box. Okay, and I don't see that happening. Okay, now let's look at the 12-hour. How's our support cloud on our 12-hour? Okay, we're actually pretty far away from that as well. So now what we would look is for this thing to respect this breakout box, okay, and slowly grind its way up until, this thing may sell down on the 12-hour and consolidate on top of this box now until this 12-hour oscillates and gets enough strength behind it to try to make a push through those 3-day clouds, okay? But we have to understand, in every trade that we take, we have to understand where we're at in the trade and what we can expect. Like, I'm expecting Gigabyte to make some very big moves. I am. But not so much in the next probably week, okay? When we look at, let's look at our monthly strength, okay? Look, same thing as a lot of our coins. We have a lot of potential that can come out of this. I mean, this thing could really get up into the 200s easily in the next coming months. But we're not expecting that move to happen in the next week because, we have a lot of monthly strength to grow into. And, we're obviously right in the middle of a 3-day cloud here on a 3-day. So it's going to take some time to grind our way through this cloud. Okay, so it's going to be, I'll tell you this right now. It's a lot easier to get from basically like 20 to 60. It was a lot easier to get from 20 to 60 as it's going to be to get from 50 to 100. But once we consolidate and we stabilize above 100, it's going to fly to 200, and then some, and and then on. So using the cloud to kind of map out our support and our resistance and where our trend would be at different times is golden. Just like I leave the stochastic RSI on the chart all the time, I leave the Ichimoku Cloud on the chart all the time, but without all the lines. Like, I don't really care all the little names of the lines and the Kinju and the Konju or whatever they're called and how they're going to give me a trade indication when they cross. I don't pay attention to that because then I'm looking at an indicator to tell me when to trade. And I don't really do that. I use all indicators as confluence with my strategy. So I don't need those lines. I'm sure that, you guys can research Ichimoku trading strategy. And there's a guy on Twitter too. He's pretty good. What the heck is his name? Satoshi something. But he uses Ichimoku a lot. But he uses it as his trading strategy. But if you want to learn more about Ichimoku, there's a lot more you can learn about it and what all those lines mean and how they cross and how, it's an indication of this and that. But just like any other indicator, I don't base a trading strategy around an indicator. I will use as much valuable information as that indicator can give me to give me confluence in my trade. Simple as that. I'll use the averages of price and support and resistance and the stochastic RSI strength and the cloud support and resistance for as much golden information as they want to give me assurance in my trade. But I will never look to any one of them individually to tell me when to trade. Okay? So just to kind of, let you guys know that. Because, when you start relying on indicators to give you trades, you're not as effective. It's not as effective at all. You'll wind up taking trades based on the indicators, and the indicators aren't taking everything else that we're studying into consideration. They're not taking, all the other, support and resistance into consideration. The market cycle, the time frame that you're looking in, the market strength. The market strength might not take into consideration the cloud. You might have an indication on the cloud telling you that you should take the trade, but then you look at the indicator and strength and you're saying, well, I don't think the market's strong enough to do that right now. So, just using the indicators for backup assurance and confluence is the way that I found works the best. Okay. And there's a lot of golden information that they're giving you if you use them the right way. I mean, the way that we use Ichimoku Cloud and stochastic RSI in relation to Fibonacci and market cycles is golden. I mean, it's really painting the picture for us and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. All right, so that's it for today. We'll talk some more on Wednesday again about Ichimoku and about actually reading, volume and reading these candles and what what each of them means, and what kind of indication they give you of like weakness and strength and stuff like that. But we're gonna spend a whole nother session talking about Ichimoku and its relationship to price, and yeah, I'll catch you guys on Wednesday. And again, sorry about the little intermission there with the computer, but yeah, I'll catch you guys on Wednesday. Have a good one.